I'm going to tell you a story about bulls. Now, does everybody know what a bull and a cow are? And what the bull is for and the cow? Okay. All right. Well, this is important because one place I told this, they didn't laugh, and I thought it was pretty damn funny. Well, you heard the story about the three bulls on the farm. I'm going to take this thing out. You didn't get feedback, Scott. Well, there was three bulls, one great big old bull, and then one medium, and then one little scrawny, ugly-looking bull out there on the farm. And word got out that the farmer's bringing a new bull onto the farm. First bull says, I'm telling you, boys, of them 100 cows, 70 of them's mine. He says, I ain't sharing. Middle-sized boy said, I'm with you. He said, 25 of them cows is mine. He said, but I'm with you. I ain't sharing. And the third little scrawny boy said, I may not have but 5 of the ugliest heifers out there, but I'm telling you, I'm with you. I ain't sharing. About a week later, here backed the trailer up in the lot, and they backed it in the fence, and that bull jumped out was nothing but 2,800 pounds of muscle and bulk. It didn't look through it looked over the fence at them bulls. That first bull said, holy cow. I got to think 70 cows is a lot. I said, I think I'm ready to share. Second bull says, been reading a good book, talks about, I'm with you, I'm going to share. And that third bull, he was out there in the pasture. He was kicking dust up, carrying on like nobody's business. And them first two bulls looked over at him and said, boy, what's wrong with you? And he just looked up and he says, I want to make sure that he knows that I'm a bull. Now that's what we need to do as Democrats. Well, we need to quit being bashful. Kick some dust up. I was in the insurance office the other day, and of all those farmers who are so hateful to Obama and hate everybody that I live amongst, is the crop insurance. And guess what? Thank you all very much, because every one of you subsidized the farmers' crop insurance to the tune of 43%. And they're bitching about this. What's wrong with them guys? Well, I was in there, and my insurance agent is my cousin. And this other guy was up there in front of him, and he goes, well, there's probably the last liberal Democrat left in the county right there. Old boy turned around, looked at me, and looked at me funny. And I'm like, are you a Republican? He goes, well, hell yeah. And I went, well, and you don't love Obama? He goes, oh, hell no. You know how those guys are. I said, well, let's think about this. We've got the deficit cut by 2/3. Unemployment's way the heck down. I mean, your stock market's tripled since he's taken. I thought you Republicans liked that. What's wrong with you? These guys don't even know when good times are amongst them. It's silly. It is plumb silly. Well, I want to talk to you also about something that's very near and dear to me. For those of you who don't know, last election we had, Amendment 1 was on the ballot. And I thank you all very much in Cass County for helping out those of us who opposed that. I want to tell you, I think it's a little bit of a template of what Democrats need to really pay attention to, what's happening in Missouri. I never would have believed when I served in the legislature that a legislature, Democrat or Republican, would pass a law that says foreign corporations can own our food. Think about it. And then they want to double down, and let's give them a constitutional amendment that gives said foreign corporations my rights as a family farmer. I want y'all to understand. I want you to understand how important this is to me, because I want you to understand. Here I am. I'm just one little old farmer in the whole wide world of farmers. And this is the power of food. You take this room right here, and you put everything I grow on this half of that chandelier in that room, everything I grow in a year. And then you go find Bill Gates, and you say, hey, Bill Gates, Wes Shoemyer's got a challenge for you. You bring Bill Gates with all his money, and you put him on the other side of that, and you put a water spigot in between me and Bill Gates, I'll promise you at the end of the year, I'll have all his money and half my food left. We need to think about the power of food. The Chinese are thinking emphatically about it. In fact, in this country, so you understand, the largest owner of pork is a Chinese corporation that owns 27% of the pork produced in this country. The largest owner of beef is a foreign corporation. The largest owner of poultry in this country is a foreign corporation. We as Democrats have had a proud heritage of standing up for family farmers. We've had a proud heritage of a labor-farmer connection that we need to rebuild and stop letting big ag take over and keep family farmers. We have a very unique chance in this state. We still have 100,000 farmers left. I think people want to know what's in their food. I think people want to know that it's healthy. I think people ought to know their farmer. I think that we should make it a priority. I'm going to tell you that and I don't care if I offend anybody because I'm sick of these people. I don't think that insurance company that runs around calling their name Farm Bureau represents nobody in the agriculture world. I did learn that from Harold Caskey. Is this an insurance company that calls itself a Farm Bureau company? Well, you're just an insurance company. And I loved Harold Caskey, my hero. You know, these guys in the legislature, let me just tell you how much they want to double down on this. Just last week they voted in Jeff City to make it easier for foreign corporations to get their financing through banks in Missouri. And then they doubled down and said, oh, by the way, in that bill, they want to tax me additionally for every calf that's born on my farm and that I sell. Congratulations, Republicans. You've done a fine job of not raising anybody's taxes and caring about our families. They don't care about our families. I'm tired. I tell you what, I just love coming to these because usually it saves me about $125 next week, that little visit to the office. I feel so damn much better. Well, I'm going to tell you, our friends in labor, and I want to thank my friends in labor who supported my candidacy back in the day. I never missed one vote for labor when they asked me. And I lived in a very rural district. But I lived in a family that grew up in what was called the NFO, National Farmers Collective Bargaining for Agriculture, that believed when people stood together and side by side and shoulder to shoulder, we all bettered each other. And that's one of the things that they're trying to do with us as people in general. And they're trying to divide us. They're trying to make us think we're really independent when we are interdependent on each other. And we need not forget that. Well, I want you to know, that anything that these bozos put right in front of is wrong. Right to farm is wrong, right to work is wrong. I can recall this is just how it goes. The very first time I ran in 2099, whatever, the teachers, they were all worried about public sector and, employees getting the governor signing exactly. They were all worried about that. So every time you go up in front of the Missouri State Teachers Association, where are you on collective bargaining? I said, I just always looked at it and said, I'm always for people working together to better themselves. What's wrong with that? You all against that? I don't know what's wrong with folks. What is wrong with people working together? We don't want to forget the struggles and what labor did for everybody else. And I tell you, it's one of the hardest things that's going to be about taking rural Missouri back. When I look in my community, we used to have coal mine. We lost all the miners. We used to have brick factories. We lost all the folks in the brick plants. We lost so many of our manufacturing, and it makes it very hard to reach those rural areas. We lost our soldiers. Well, there's some things that really torque me about what Republicans have claimed to be. And I was raised a Baptist, and I recall when I was in Jeff City, there was a piece of legislation that came up and for drug testing for TANF recipients, temporary assistance for needy families. Think about it. Now, this was the only folks in the whole state of Missouri that got a check signed by the state treasury or the federal treasury that we thought ought to pee in the cup to get their money. Think about it. I mean, I told them the day I pee in my cup to get my farm payment, probably be a good time we could do it to the folks of Tanner. When Clark Hunts wants to pee in the cup for his $40 million on his stadium parkway, I'll pee in the cup too. I don't know how. I don't know where they claim their religious morality from. I mean, think about it. I know, first off, whoever tries to do that, you're damn wrong. Nobody should claim that in our governance. That's a private decision that our Constitution guarantees that each one can make that choice for ourselves and our homes and have the freedom to do it, and these bozos are messing with it. You ever think about it? I had one, I told somebody here earlier, I had one to come in my office one time, you got to do this and you got to do that, you pass this legislation. I said, well, let me just ask you this. So you're telling me you want to get your morals out of Jefferson City or Washington, D.C. Well, I'm going to tell you something. You're in deep crap if that's where you want to get your morals from. You better go back home and open your book. It's probably way dusty on it. And get back to that. Because I know that it's about caring for our neighbors. And that these things that they want to call privileges ought to, by gosh, be rights. Rights to have great health care. Everyone deserves health care, not just a few of us. How do you pursue that? How do you pursue happiness if you're hungry? How do you learn if you're sick and you're hungry? And these guys, I tell you, how many here? Okay, this ain't really hard. Okay, if someone says, if you'll spend $1, I'll give you 19. Would anybody spend $1? I think most of us would spend $1. Somebody, well, you know what? That's what these bozos are rejecting by not expanding Medicaid within the state of Missouri. They're turning $19 down for a $1 investment, only because they hate. And if you govern out of hate, the people will hurt. And that's what they're doing to the people. 700 people die in this state needlessly every single year because they will not expand Medicaid. I want to tell you something that I learned in 2005, and they need to go back and study what our own numbers within the state of Missouri will prove. 2005, we cut Medicaid in Missouri. Now, of all the states around us, we were the only ones that did that. 2006, guess whose private pay insurance premiums went up more than anybody contiguous to us? Missouri's. Let me tell you how this works. When somebody's sick, well, they're either going to die or they're going to get help. Somebody's got to pay. Everyone who is responsible and fortunate and blessed to have insurance or private pay, when you go to the doctor, you're paying anyway. So when we cut people out of a managed care system, it was an emergency care system that ended up costing the hospital more. When the hospital said, oh, we got to cover that cost, so they covered it with all of us who were responsible. Insurance companies aren't stupid. They do actuaries. They go into Missouri and say, their costs are going up more than any other state. We have to raise their premiums. This expansion of Medicaid, or lack of it, is killing Missouri. It's costing Missouri, and we ought to make it cost the, by gosh, hard-nosed Republicans who will not help, who will not do the morally right thing to expand that, to give more health care. Our people deserve it. The people of Missouri are better than that. I'm going to tell you, I promise you this. We may have a representative form of government in Jeff City, but I know in my heart that the people are not like what is representing them right now. They don't understand what's going on. That's why you're so important. We are the ones that have to get this message out. What I found with the Amendment 1, when we had that, you know, I don't think I have to convince any of you here probably, unless there's a spy watching Sifton or the congressman. Is there a spy in here watching tonight? I had them chasing me. If you're a spy, stand up. If there's one here and he didn't stand up, or she's a chicken poop. So anyway, I was trying to help you out, Senator. I didn't know if there was one or not. I'd call them out. You know, what I found is we don't have to, I don't have to convince you. You know, we are convinced. We are the ones that have to go out and convince everyone else. It's in their best interest. It's in the state's best interest. It's in our children and our grandchildren's best interest to change the direction that Missouri is heading right now. It's not about being selfish. It's about being more open. You know, we found it with Amendment 1, just so you know how dramatic that was. 19 weeks out in front of that election, we were 49 points down. We lost that election by less than 1/4% because people like you got involved and you told your neighbors how wrong the direction that they're heading this country. They are heading us in a dangerous path. They are trying to divide us more and more and more every day. They are trying to disfranchise people more and more and more every day. And I challenge you to stand by your faith, because I know my faith tells me about helping people. My faith tells me about caring more for people, not catastrophizing them aside. And that's what us Democrats are about. Well, I think is it 9 o'clock yet, or do I need another drink? No, it's 9 o'clock. It probably is. I got a longer drive home than you do, though. I just want to close with one thing I do think, and I don't want to talk about this because this affects all of us. But the only thing I could figure that would make a legislature vote to allow foreign corporations to own our food and our farmland is the money. I mean, nothing else. No red-blooded American should do that. And so I think it's time we have a real discussion about campaign contributions in the state of Missouri.